The Bitcoin price again. Going to do another trade breakdown from earlier today. We had a nice little scalp, but first let's go over what I'm thinking for this range at the moment. Again, reiterate this numerous of times in the Discord and on YouTube. We are in this bullish upward rising trend. We just had this break of structure, and after a break of structure, we're always looking for that pullback. So we have this range low to your range high on the mid to high time frame structure. We did hit that 0.5 or the midpoint of that range already. So if this is going to be extremely bullish, I expect this to pull all the way up to at least take out the upper extreme liquidity of this range, or this range high, or completely break it all together. Preferably, again, you would want to see this continue. So you would really want to look for that break. But I always look at these extreme levels right here for another move back down, even another rotation, because we could be in this range for a while. It's not guaranteed to just break up as soon as we hit a discount of a range, right? So it could take plenty of time to accumulate through this area, and that's what we want to pay attention to. So that brings our attention to, hey, what do we want to see next? I'm concentrating on this tap 1, tap 2, looking potentially for a tap 3 in this order block. Do we have to get the tap 3 there? No, we do not. We could actually move this tap up here for a model 2. So you could take a retracement down and you make a higher low here to return and have a range rotation back to the upside, if not a full-on break of higher time frame market structure. So these would be the two areas I would be looking for an additional tap, or the third tap of a Wyckoff accumulation. Now potentially, if we look at this on a 2-hour, it could be argued that we already had tap 1 here, tap 2, then tap 3. But I do not like the looks of this low. It's not a good low for me. However, we can't deny that we've taken liquidity once and then taken it again for the second time. So that could be potentially a tap 3, meaning this leg is already put in the third tap. So these two might not get realized, but we always want to look out for the potentials. So if price were to come down to one of these areas, we would definitely be looking for a nice long. Now, we do need to recognize on the lower time frame, and we'll get into the scalp before we get into the short side. So we broke through VWAP, this line here. We broke through VWAP and found a back test here. However, we didn't really make good structure in my eyes coming down into the VWAP, so I couldn't use structure to get into a play here. And you also saw tap 1, tap 2, tap 3, a redistribution, sending it back down for them to accumulate even more at the VWAP. And what we see here, down at the VWAP, tap 1, tap 2, and you have your tap 3 there. So what I was looking at for this particular trade, looking at it as an accumulation right on the VWAP, I saw on the second tap, what do we want to always see on the second tap? We want to see a footprint. We want to see accumulation from institutional buying pressure here, and that's what this is, an order block with an imbalance, or what some people might call a fair value gap from this candle to this candle here. So what we always do is look from this structure here down to here. So let's go down a little bit further. And since I was already looking at VWAP, I was a bit more aggressive on this trade because we had this 5-minute order block as well as a lower time frame order block down here. So I went ahead and marketed in at VWAP and then put my stop slightly below the lowest low of this accumulation model. And I went and took profit at this point of control here of this range. So I'm already actually out of this trade, but you potentially, and that was like a 3.1 trade, 3.1R, but you could have taken this to the highs somewhere for about a 4.5 to maybe even a 5R if you would have called the tip top, which you could have because it came into this supply here if you were using that as your potential target one, or maybe you had split your take profits and you took profit at the point of control and then took the rest of the profit at this supply. Now we have to look at this liquidity curve as a potential run. So what we could do, as I've outlined in many of my videos at this point, is we are going to follow demand up. Okay, so we have demand here, got tapped into, then we had demand here, got tapped into, then we have demand here, which technically this demand range was a little bit bigger from there to there, and technically it's already been tapped into. So what I'm looking for now is for this low to break. So I would like to see a break here. If we come below here and do something like this, do a nice back test, and then potentially bringing this lower down to one of those third tap spots that we were talking about earlier. So we would want to see it come down to around this demand, or even a little bit lower to SFP this low into this order block, which I would assume would probably mitigate it quite high up. But you never know. Bitcoin likes to leave some pretty long wicks sometimes. So we do have this liquidity curve right here, and it does have potential to come down and just sweep out this liquidity and then move up. We do have a small portion of a fair value gap in this demand zone right here. And of course, you could always use a fib, take it to the high, and you can see the pink pocket is right around here, or the 618 to the 786 area. So that somewhere around there is usually your second tap. Now let's pull back out of this here, and as we are looking for this accumulation down here, we also need to be aware that this could also be a distribution model in its own creation. So if we come up and tap the highs and take this liquidity, could it be a third tap of tap one? Mark it out. So have tap one, tap two, and potentially tap three here, or you might just have a model two, take this liquidity and put your tap three in right there. Let's go back down to the 15. So you do have to watch out for that. So as price comes up into those zones, you're going to watch for an SFP around this area. Let me just highlight it. You'll watch for an SFP right around that zone. If you see a price come up here strong, wick, and close back below this range high, then that is going to be one of your confirmations. You can also use market structure to get into that short, or you can use order flow in a number of ways to watch out for either exhaustion or preferably absorption. So those are different setups I am eyeballing at the moment and it might take a little while to play out. Not like it's going to happen. Could happen in the next hour. Could happen in the next 6-7 days. So we're going to keep an eye on those scenarios. And as price is creating, see what market structure gives us as far as any more scalps, just like we did at this VWAP scalp. So if you liked this video and found it helpful, give me a like, subscribe, and we'll hit you up later.